The CFL week is here. We are into week 5 already. I will say, not a strong start for the best bets column because I underestimated the Stampeders in a couple of different ways, but there is still a play tonight with Hamilton taking on Toronto, so if you want to catch that, check out my work over at 3 Down Nation. But I do want to start with what we saw last night. Not a full in-depth breakdown, we'll do the weekly recap on Monday, but holy hell. The Calgary Stampeders, that is a statement that Vernon Adams and company went out and made. A huge hat tip to them for what they were able to put out there. That was a performance that I didn't think you could do for them against Winnipeg. I thought, okay, it's cute. You got to do this against Hamilton and Toronto, and it's the rain against Ottawa, but whatever. Like, okay, that's nice. But Winnipeg is a real legitimate team. And the Stamps whooped that ass. So that was a eye-opening victory for the Calgary Stampeders. And I think that was an announcement like, hey, we are for real. And we are not just the team from last year that couldn't get its shit together. This is a real, genuine threat and genuine contender in the CFL's West Division. And I am, as a writer person, much less comfortable about them facing Calgary next week when those two teams play out in Saskatchewan. Because, oh my God. But it's an interesting test now for both sides. As you could argue, Saskatchewan hasn't really been tested, given whatever that was BC was trying to do last week. And now Calgary, that's one good test. But we have seen this Saskatchewan team have looked pretty good at times. So another big test for them coming up. Interesting one coming up tonight, as it is Hamilton taking on Toronto in another installment of their Battle of Alberta at BMO. This is, I think, actually a very interesting matchup because you have two teams coming off of wins that you can't really take seriously. Toronto, it was Ottawa, it wasn't Drew Brown, and it was a game where you got two returns of over 100 yards to help you get 14 points in that game. And Hamilton beat Montreal, but they beat Montreal with McLeod Bethel-Thompson in at quarterback. So I have a difficult time taking that seriously. And they are actually two pretty evenly matched teams. As going through it for the best bets this week, both teams are in the bottom half of the league in net offense allowed. So, okay, offenses are going to thrive, except neither offense is all that good as they are both in the bottom half of the league in net offense. Both teams, bottom half of the league in rushing yards allowed. But again, neither team looks ready to take advantage of that because both teams sit last and second last in rushing yards per game. I do think there is a little bit of noise in that number because neither team really runs it at all. They have fewer rushing attempts combined than the Riders alone have this season. So it's not that they can't, it's just that they don't. So we will see. I think it's a fun matchup. I think these two teams are pretty evenly matched. I just kind of feel like Hamilton is better. I trust the quarterback significantly more in this matchup. So I am going to go with the Hamilton Tiger Cats in this one. Again, for more breakdowns of the CFL, you can head over to my work over on 3 Down. And you can support Couch Potato Diary with our tip jar. It is in the link of the YouTube descriptions and in the podcast as well. And on Twitch and on Kick, there is a panel for you to go over and check out. So, that would be, if nothing else, my cats need treats, man. So, help them get some treats. You can go over to the tip jar. But again, not expected, not required, none of that. Would just be a nice little way to help out. But you guys watching and chatting today has been so much fun. So, let's keep that going. I understand the CFL maybe isn't always the crowd pleaser, but still want to get a couple more of these in. BC taking on Montreal with all the injuries and changes everywhere. This is a tough team to get a read on in BC. And it's a tough matchup because on paper, I still think, given how BC has played, they should lose to Montreal. But that was really bad for McLeod Bethel-Thompson last week for the Alouettes against Hamilton. And I have concerns about them going up against a Nathan Rourke-led team out in BC. Now, I don't think that defense plays as bad 2 weeks in a row, but I think the changes at quarterback now and the injury situation kind of turning the Lions' way gives them the edge in this spot. So officially, when we had to do our picks, I did kind of change things on, it kind of changed my mind a little bit. we had to make our picks over at 3 down before, so I officially went with Montreal. I'll just stick with it because we have to. We're going to be confident in McLeod Bethel Thompson in week 2 of this offense that things will get rolling. And then the last matchup of the week sucks. It is Ottawa taking on Edmonton. Edmonton off to a bit of a slow start. The schedule has been tough. I do think we start to see some improvements here because they kind of have to. We are seeing now, like Saskatchewan is at least somewhat for real. And you have a Winnipeg team that looks quite for real aside from last night. BC, I still think we haven't seen the best of them. And now Calgary is looking dangerous. Edmonton cannot afford to fall much farther behind. So this is the easiest test they have had so far this season. This needs to be a time for them to take advantage of that. And I think they will. I think this is the time we actually start to see Edmonton break out of it a little bit and beat the Ottawa Red Blacks. So those are my CFL picks for the week in the Canadian Football League. Again, head over to 3 Down Nation for extensive 3-down coverage in the CFL. We have Deeds talking about some NHL stuff in the chat. Frost signing for 2 on a show me contract was a great move, and Frost on the radio with Pat seems to know exactly what he needs to do. Hey, you know what? Let's we'll throw the graphic up in a second and talk a little bit more hockey. We got Connor back in the chat. What classic offensive play do you find most frustrating to watch in the CFL? Slot sweep, wide out hitch? Dude, you know what? Like, slot sweep, I can get it, whatever. The one that honestly frustrates me the most is and it can be effective at times. First down, handoff up the middle. The Riders do that more than any team ever. And it can work. But everything we have kind of learned about football, again, dirty word here, analytics, but is that it is easier to throw when the defense doesn't know if you're going to throw or pass. If it's 2nd and 8, they kind of have a clue you're going to be passing that ball, right? And so when you just do, hey, let's run this guy into the back of our offensive line and see what happens on first down, when you could be facing more neutral coverages in the passing game, it drives me up the wall sometimes when you only get 2 of these downs. And so when you do that, and then you make a successful pass on 2nd down, let's say, it's 2nd and 8, you make a pass for 5 yards. Now all of a sudden it's 3rd and 3, and then you punt. That progression annoys me. Because if you're going to accept that maybe we get 2 yards on first down, but we're going to try to do this play anyway because football tells us we have to, and then we get most of it back, I think you owe it to your offense to at least try something on 3rd down to get that going. Wide receiver hitch, I am happy now that every team in the league seems to know, hey, let's just defend this appropriately, instead of, oh my God, that guy has stopped there and there's 2 people over here blocking. What could this be? Defenses have kind of figured that out. So that is one for me as well. But classic offensive play to watch in the CFL, it is the handoff up the middle. The biggest frustration I have with CFL play calling, if we want to get into this, and I was actually thinking about, I'm going to do something a little bit more on this when we get into more summer content. You have a huge field. They have to give you a yard. Why are teams punting on 3rd and medium, or 3rd and short, not even 3rd and medium, 3rd and 3 or 4? Why are we punting from like kind of plus territory, and especially late in games? This whole, oh man, so many, just leads can change all the time. So yeah, you know what? It makes sense in the CFL to punt the ball away with 2.5 minutes to go. And then the other team gets it. And then the commentators in the next breath are like, well, 1 first down and this game is over. That is not, no, don't do that. Don't do that. Give yourself a chance. It is a huge field. To have to defend everyone on it is very difficult to do. You should be able to pick up 3 or 4 yards with your game on the line. So there are so many passive decisions that get made in coaching all the time. And I just feel like teams should be much more aggressive about going for it in Canadian football when you have all that space and all that room. But everyone is just so conservative all the time, and it drives me up the wall. So apparently Connor has touched a nerve here a little bit with a couple of things in the CFL that I get very frustrated by.